Hello there guys and welcome, it's Niran here and today it is time for the Williams Road to Recovery series here, our career mode series on F1 2013 as Williams, trying to restore them to glory. How is it going? I'm just having a look at my race strategy. We are here in Hungary for round 10 of the season. We're going to be starting on the option tyres and pitting on lap 8 to move on to the primes, but as I'm sure you know by now, it is time for the qualifying report. Q1 was very much dominated by Fernando Alonso as most of the front runners chose primes. Sergio Perez and Paul di Resta showed pace while we lost Adrian Sutil and a very disappointed Grosjean as Button, Hulkenberg and Massa just made it through. In a rain-threatened Q2, Sebastian Vettel will be fastest from both Mercedes and Kimi Raikkonen. Brits Paul di Resta and Yasufi made it into Q3 while Button and Nico Hulkenberg were noticeable absentees, missing out on the shootout by less than a tenth. When it mattered, Alonso showed his early pace, grabbing pole in the wet conditions in Q3 from Nico Rosberg and Mark Webber. Hamilton and Vettel were 5th and 6th, whilst the misery continued for Lotus, only able to grab 8th and 18th. So all of this means that Fernando Alonso will be on pole here in Budapest. Second on the grid is Nico Rosberg from Mark Webber and Felipe Massa doing well in 4th. Hamilton will start 5th in front of Vettel, Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen in 8th, from Nuran Yasufi and Paul di Resta for the Force India team in 10th place. So a pretty decent 9th then here in Hungary. Didn't actually expect to get into Q3 based on our Q1 pace, but we did manage to get there in a rain-affected qualifying shootout. Q2 it started to rain right towards the end as well, so getting a time in right at the start of the session was very useful. But as I said earlier, we'll be starting on the option tyres and moving on to the primes on lap 8, I do believe it is, or that's when we're scheduled to. Fernando Alonso then taking pole. We've got our teammate Pastor Maldonado in 13th. There's a possibility for a point there, just to sneak one if a lot of carnage happens in front, although Hungary isn't usually a track where that sort of happens. But this 18 lap race is about to get underway, and revs up, we are ready for a start. We've got Raikkonen to the right and Perez in front. 5 lights are on and they are now off, and we've got a relatively good start compared to Raikkonen, but not compared to di Resta, who's going to go up the inside of both of us. 4 abreast in front between, I think, Rosberg, Perez, Massa and someone else, probably Webber. We've got someone on the inside, that's Jenson Button. We're going to run into turn 1 a little bit deeper up the inside of Sergio Perez, who gets pushed out wide. We've got Raikkonen to the inside and Webber in front. Di Resta, I think, is on the outside still. Perez there to the inside of us. It's all getting a little bit too close. Run into the back there slightly of Raikkonen and go up the inside of him and Di Resta, but Di Resta goes around the outside of Kimi Raikkonen, and I'm up into 7th. Di Resta also moving up 2 places up into 8th. Past Raikkonen and Perez. Paul Perez got hung out to dry on the outside of turn 1 and then got squeezed out by ourselves because we were getting squeezed out by Raikkonen and Di Resta to our right hand side. Going through this little hairpin there, we've got a little bit wide, a little bit of understeer even, just behind Mark Webber here. Looks like probably Nico, oh no, it's actually Lewis Hamilton, so great start from Nico Rosberg, wherever the heck he is, and then in front of those guys are the 2 Ferraris. In front of that is Nico Rosberg, and then his fellow countryman, Sebastian Vettel leading this race. How did I almost forget Sebastian Vettel's name? Anyway, we're on the first lap. We're coming towards the end of the first lap on this pretty quick lap here around Hungary. I didn't actually realise, I never really paid attention. I don't really pay attention to the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's not really a classic, to be quite honest. You don't usually get classics around this track, put it that way. But this 18 lap race course, 25% distance in the Williams. This is a pretty decent start. From 9th on the grid, we've gained some positions and it's looking decent. We're just about hanging on to the coattails of Mark Webber as I use a little bit of curves coming out of the last corner. Vettel, though, still leading this one. Di Resta still behind, being followed by Raikkonen and Perez, and then probably people like Grosjean. But Grosjean, what a shocking qualifying he had, down in 18th place. Literally, there were only Marushas and Caterers behind him, so Grosjean with a horrific start. Horrific qualifying. Whether he's got a good start or not, I'm not sure. Looking at the mini-map, though, and looking where our teammate and the yellow dot of Pastor Maldonado is, I would say he's probably, the top 10 is sort of broken away from the rest, so I'd say he's probably about 15th or so. So not a great start for Pastor Maldonado as we cut that corner. That was horrific apex hit. Well, actually, I suppose it was good apex hitting. We just hit too much of the apex. But still, going down now into this chicane that really throws you out if you get it wrong, as shown there by me clattering across those extremely high curves. Going through this very technical part of the track, going into the weekend, or well, I mean, you know, weekend as in game time, not obviously, you know what I mean. Going into qualifying, I was not really that confident going through that section. I made a little bit of hash of the last part of that section as we now dive into the third to last corner on lap 2 of this 18 lap racing. I was not very confident going into that section, but we now move on to lap 4 of 18 because nothing happened on lap 3. In front, Mark Webber has started to get away from us with that gaggle. Sebastian Vettel is tearing away from the field in the lead. Then that gaggle of 5 behind him. Then it's ourselves with a little bit of a gap back to Paul di Resta. As you can see to the left-hand side, I'm just selecting, well, I thought I was going to select fuel. I decided against it in the end, but what I've got is I've got a system going on where, going through the technical part of the track where, you know, straight line speed isn't particularly imperative, I decide to switch down into the lean mixture. So then down the straights I can blast it into rich mixture and either overtake people relatively easy or hold on to people behind. So basically, I don't think I'm going to do it on this lap, it would appear. But what I'm going to do is, usually I would flick into lean about here, so the rest of the track, really the rest of the lap is pretty technical bar the, you know, the pit straight. And then onto the pit straight, going through the last corner, I'll flick onto the rich fuel mixture to have a lot more pace down the straights. I don't know if that actually affects things or whether it's actually a good strategy to have around this track, but it's something that I thought up and it seemed to work well for me so far in this race. As you can see, the tyre wear is already a little bit bad, to be quite honest. It's orange verging on red. It's worse on the left front because obviously that's a tyre that gets worked quite a lot with these high-speed left-hand corners, right-hand corners on the track, which then work the left-hand front tyre a lot more. We're on lap 5. We're going towards the end of lap 5 at the moment. And we're still looking relatively steady here in the 7th place. A little bit of oversteer there. As you can see, the fuel, we've got +1 lap to use the rich fuel mixture later on in this stint, or later on in the race, even a bit more oversteer actually out of the last corner. As you can see there, flicking onto the rich fuel mixture for this front straight. Behind, di Resta actually doing us a little bit of a favour. I think if Raikkonen and who will be behind that, Perez, if Raikkonen and Perez were the men all over the back of us, I think, or behind us at least, I think they would be all over the back of us, whereas di Resta has a similar sort of pace to us. As someone actually pits behind, I don't know why, that's very early, it's only at the end of lap 6, but at the end of lap 6, I meant to say end of lap 5 earlier, we've decided to come in because, as you can see, the tyre wear is catastrophic. If I had left it another lap, we'd be in a situation where we're sliding all over the show. We've got guys left, right and centre going through, and that just makes you slower in the end. When you're defending on already warm tyres, you're just in a catastrophic situation. So we're going to try the undercuts. We now move on to the prime tyres. Really good pit stop there from the guys with a 3-second pit stop, but unfortunately with this track, with there not being huge amounts of space to overtake, you tend to get gaggles, and unfortunately we've been fed out right into the middle of one, and there was actually front wing there at the first corner, probably looked like a Toro Rosso, and since there's a Toro Rosso in this gaggle in front of us, I'm going to guess it's the other one. Sorry, I had to quickly pause there, got a phone call, but still now, just skipping forward, just because you don't want to see the pause screen for ages. We've got Adrian Sutil in front, I'm going to guess that's probably Jean-Eric Verne there as well. We've got a Williams, but someone's backing up the field, that's got to be the Toro Rosso who broke his front wing, and it's just going to be a catastrophe into this next corner. We've got effectively 4 abreast at one stage, Maldonado going really slowly, we have to cut the corner really, go around the outside of Maldonado and Sutil, and it's Ricciardo who's broken his front wing there. We move up into 15th, but this is seriously holding us up. This massive gaggle of people. I don't know who Ricciardo hit to break his front wing even down at turn 1. We've got Maldonado right behind us as well in 16th. In front of us is Jean-Eric. Is that a Marussia? Is that a Marussia in 13th place? What is going on? Well, whatever the case, we've got, I think it's actually Max Chilton. Max Chilton is in 13th place. We've got Jean-Eric Verne in front. This is possibly the worst scenario to have been brought out into after our pit stop. We were trying the undercut. It's just not going to work. We run into the back of Verne because he was slow into the penultimate corner. We've got up the inside. Max Chilton's as high as he's ever been in history as we now flick onto the rich fuel mixture. We've got some curves. We're going to have DRS. We're just going to be able to blast past an already relatively slow Marussia in a straight line. As we move on to lap 8, we're going to go up the inside, down into turn 1. It should be a little bit of a breeze, to be quite honest, and up into 13th place we go. We've managed to negotiate our way through that massive gaggle. The 2 Toro Rossos, Sutil, Maldonado, and then Max Chilton afterwards. We're going to flick, I think we flick down into the lean fuel mixture. We've got Sergio Perez now going really slowly. We've got a shed load of understeer out onto the outside there, onto the marble. We're going to have to clear those up, but because Perez was so slow, thought I could try and make it at the inside. And we flick into the lean fuel mixture as we go into the technical part of the track. Perez is extremely slow again here into our places on the option tyre, so we'll have a bit of an advantage. We go wide again because of the huge amounts of understeer this car has, and then lunge up the inside because Perez is just like a GP3 car going into the chicane. Probably not even that slow. I'd probably Formula 3, probably not even that, like a touring car through them. But anyway, that's not the point. What the speed that Perez is driving at is not particularly the point. We're on lap 8 here. Now, of course, we've pitted 2 laps earlier than everyone else. Now, this means that when people start to pit, which I'm guessing is on this lap, looking at the mini-map, people towards the end are going to have they're going to have tyres that are 2 laps fresher than us, basically. And seeing as we're not exactly the best at conserving our tyres, as proven all series long, especially in Malaysia, this could become a little bit of a problem. We've definitely got a tyre conserve. Looks as if we're going to get past this gaggle of cars, which looks to be De Resta, Raikkonen, and whoever else was in that gaggle. I don't actually know. We've got Grosjean in front of us as well, but we've quite easily made it out in front of those guys. And have we not lost about probably 3 or 4 seconds in that battle with the 2 Toro Rossos, with the Marussia and Sutil and the such like a Maldonado? We probably would have been actually, well, A, in front of Grosjean, and B, probably about 6 or 7 seconds actually in front of Raikkonen. We've got about a 2.5 second gap, I would say, back to the Lotus, the Finnish Lotus man. There's not much tyre wear at the moment, but obviously we're on the prime tyres, so they're going to wear a lot slower than the option tyres. But you wouldn't expect it really after 3 laps. The problem is we're only halfway through the race, and I'm on an already sort of old set of prime tyres. If I come in when I was meant to, which I think was it lap 8 instead of lap 7, we'd at least, maybe only run out of tyre a lap from the end, rather than probably going to end up being 2 laps. I'll make a complete hash of a corner a minute ago. That was shocking. Out onto the runoff area, I suppose. In front of us, we're in 9th at the moment. Grosjean is surely going to put on this lap as we move on to lap 9 of 18, where we'll move on to lap 10 of 18 in a few corners' time. But that's not particularly the point. Anyway, we are 9th at the moment as Grosjean in front decides to come in, and probably Jenson Button maybe in front of that, maybe Hulkenberg, one of those sorts of 2 drivers in front of that. Who is it? It's Gutierrez, apparently, of all people. Well, there you go. Esteban Gutierrez having a great race. We flick over to the rich fuel mixture, and as we now move on to lap 11, tyre wear is looking like it's going to be a massive problem. Not just a massive problem, a massive one. As Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race, move on to the rich fuel mixture, but Kimi Raikkonen's already coming, which sounds wrong. Anyway, down into turn 1, though, we've managed to defend that position from the Lotus man, having flicked into the rich fuel mixture, but Raikkonen trying to get the undercut and trying to look up the inside, which would then turn out to be outside for turn 2, and actually Hulkenberg has now made it past the Finnish driver for 8th place. Well, Hulkenberg then now behind us. I don't know whether that's more of a threat or less of a threat. Probably the same amount of a threat, particularly at the moment, because they look pretty much as quick as each other. We've gone wide again. I've run out of fingers in terms of how many times we've actually gone completely off of the track in this race. But in front of us is Mark Webber, still maintaining 6th place, with probably people like Rosberg and the such like and Massa and stuff. On lap 12 of 18 though here, and the tyres are, let's face it, it's going to be a huge problem. We're going to end up with a Malaysia situation in that first stint, where basically, A, I caused the safety car, and B, I was basically driving round on tyre carcasses. I might as well have square wheels, to be quite honest, because that was probably a lot better in the scenario, and it's probably going to be ending up like that this time as well. Got Hulkenberg all over the back of us, probably switch over to the rich fuel mixture a little bit earlier this time instead of halfway down the straight when Raikkonen's already got DRS and is already basically up my inside. But we're gonna do that, and we've actually got a bit more of a gap this time than Nico Hulkenberg, where we had a bit better traction out of the penultimate corner. I'm not entirely sure, but Hulkenberg will have the assist with DRS for the next 2 straights, if you can call the next straight a straight. But we managed to hold on pretty well easily down into turn 1. But as you can see, orange verging on red is the tyre situation at the moment. Moving on a little bit later on to lap 13, and Hulkenberg is a little bit closer. As you can see, he's probably going to have a lot fresher tyres than we do, and behind Hulkenberg a lot closer going into this DRS, and we flick over to Rich again, use the rest of our curves down the straight, and we'll see whether we can hold on. I think we will just about. We'll have to see what happens down into turn 1. I think we will just about be safe, especially with the AI being so cautious. Down into turn 1 we go a little bit wide on the exit, and a huge slide on the exit, but behind, thankfully, otherwise Hulkenberg would have been there to pounce, but Raikkonen managed to get past Hulkenberg and just basically make a hash of everyone's line, which meant they couldn't really capitalise on my big mistake coming out of that hairpin, but we now flick back into lean for the technical part of the track, which doesn't really require much top-end speed, if you like. It's more about the air. Well, no, it's not. You know, it's just about how well the car handles. And seeing as I'm in a Williams on this game, that's pretty much out of the window. And actually, we've moved up to 6th place. We're down to 21 drivers, so clearly someone in front of us has just retired. It's still Webber in front, so it can't have been Webber, obviously. I'm sure you probably guessed that, but I'm not entirely sure. I thought Rosberg was actually there in 5th earlier. I'm sure when I was being pressurised when I made that mistake, I'm pretty sure it said Rosberg in 5th place. So I don't know if it's Nico Rosberg is retired. Meanwhile, behind us, Kimi Räikkönen was looking up the inside down into that right-hand corner. We managed to hold on, and Räikkönen a little bit cautious on the brakes down into there, and now backing up the guys behind, being Hülkenberg. And I'm still not actually sure who's on the end of that battle. Is it Perez or Button or Grosjean or Hülkenberg or Gutierrez or Di Resta? It could be anyone, to be quite honest. Down this straight, though, we go, and now we move on a lap, and if I make it to the end of this race without flailing myself around this track and into gravel traps, I will be extremely surprised. Having looked at the tyres, pretty much the only one that isn't completely brick red is the rear left, to be quite honest. Everything else is just gone. Completely gone. We've gone wide there, really wide, almost down to the grass, actually. Got Nico Hülkenberg behind. There's actually Di Resta there in 8th. He's managed to get now in front of Kimi Räikkönen as we plunge down into this chicane. And to be there's not even any issue of tyre conservation anymore. The tyres can't be conserved anymore because the tyres are gone. They're just completely gone. We've got 2.5 laps left to survive. There's just no way. There's absolutely no way. Nico Hülkenberg looks up the inside, but he was unable to make the move stick behind Räikkönen, also all over the back of Di Resta. We've backed up this train so much. We've got 2 new entrants to the back of it. Gutierrez looks as if he's there, and probably Romain Grosjean as well, because he looks as if he was going quite quick, and he was with Grosjean earlier on in the race. But we've literally caused so much of a trolley train that someone who we were a pit stop ahead of is at the back of the train. That's the scenario. Hülkenberg looks up the inside again, and on the exit, Di Resta's now going up the inside of Hülkenberg. Di Resta's going to make it up into 7th place behind us. We move further on into the lap here, halfway through the penultimate lap. We've gone wide, we've got huge amounts of understeer. Di Resta's through, up into 6th, behind is Räikkönen, down into the chicane. Di Resta goes defensive, we look up the inside, it's not going to happen. He's got the inside line, we've been spun off, we had a bit of a slide, but we've been helped off, and it's all over. It's all gone. Sad music has entered, and it's just gone. We've got no tyres, no points, all of that work, all of that effort, flicking over from fuel, from the lean mixture to the rich mixture. It's all over, and it's gonna get worse, because as Vettel's happy and celebrating with the win, Button's gone through in 11th. We're losing so much time per lap. We can't even stay on the track onto the final lap, and it's just all over. It's just all over through the final corner now, and it's only going to be 12th, and it's just such a disappointment. Just all of that effort, such a good qualifying, and then this just heartbreak of not even getting a single point. We're like Maldonado. No, enough of this sadness malarkey. We're going to be relatively happy, actually, I think, with 12th, despite losing over 30 seconds to people we were. That's just depressing. In 2 laps we lost, Jesus Christ, we lost 6 positions, 30 seconds just from hitting the cliff. Well, while we're depressed then in 12th, Sebastian Vettel won the race from Alonso and Massa. Good race for Ferrari. Hamilton was 4th from Webber, Di Resta, Grosjean, Gutierrez up in 8th, then Räikkönen and Hülkenberg, Button, myself, Maldonado, Chilton up in 14th for the Perez, Van der Garde, and it was in fact Rosberg, the man we lost there, down in 22nd. Not great races for Sutil, Verne, and Ricciardo there down in 21st as well. But they'll have had to use sad music for the rest of that race, I'm not entirely sure as well. But still, this is how it affects the championship. We find ourselves still in 6th place there, having not got any points for the first time since Bahrain. Behind us though, and really it's not too bad. Perez didn't score any points. Räikkönen only got 2. Webber, yeah, got a few, but still, in front of us, Rosberg didn't get any. So actually, despite the sad music, it was actually not too bad, not too catastrophic. It's still Hamilton who leads the way from Vettel, who of course won that race. and then was it Alonso or Massa? I missed that. Our teammate Maldonado, though, down in 17th, just behind Ricciardo and just in front of Jean-Eric Vergne. Gutierrez scoring some good points there with that 8th place, and Paul di Resta also getting his first points of the season to move up to 14th in the championship. But here is the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes out in front by 27 points. A good weekend for Ferrari, getting up 2nd and 3rd. And we've got Red Bull there in 3rd place in front of McLaren. Lotus leapfrog us now by 3 points in the Constructors' Championship to push us back down to 6th. Then we've got Sauber, Force India, Toro Rosso there on 5, followed by Caterham and Marussia still yet to grab a point. But anyway, it's a bit of a depressing race. No points. A big disappointment, to be quite honest. But I'm hoping you still enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did. Comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed that much. My driver didn't particularly enjoy it, but nevertheless, I hope you have a great day. Unlike my driver, I need to stop making comparisons. But still, I hope you have a good day. Enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.